There for it. Hot topics, political views.
That's what we're about.
Voices that matter. It all goes down right here.
That's why it's called the what?
The View.
I love it. I'm all in. Second that. This is going to be must-see TV, and so much could happen.
I did not picture myself surviving through that day.
He was tracking her.
He was everywhere.
I heard the squeak of a floorboard. I've been kidnapped. This becomes a fight for my life.
And we're all holding our breath.
My mind is the only thing that's going to get me out of here. This is a horror film.
Stalking Samantha. 13 years of terror. Only on Hulu.
This is a global operation. Get your surveillance team in place.
How you like me?
LAPD has agreed to help the FBI track down terrorist targets.
There's nothing like a day in the job to remind you how quickly life can change. Get out of there.
Get away from the bed! 113, you're gonna need all hands.
911 Nashville. TV's #1 new show is back.
The city's been hacked.
With an emergency that will touch every corner of Nashville.
Every light in the city went green.
Returns Thursday on ABC.
I think I'm getting a divorce. What tipped me off was that I'm living in an apartment on my own, and my wife and kids don't live there.
So, what, you tell jokes?
More like funny stories about my life.
What's funny about your life?
Is this thing on? Rated R.
We have breaking news from Minnesota. Democratic Governor Tim Walz says he will not run for a third term. The 2024 vice presidential candidate has come under intense scrutiny over a series of fraud cases involving government programs. Those cases went viral over the holidays when a right-wing influencer posted a video about alleged fraud at child care centers. After the video, the Trump administration said it would freeze child care funds to Minnesota. In a statement, Walz says he can't give a campaign his all, citing an extraordinarily difficult year for Minnesota. And parts of the West are bracing for more rain and snow after a wet weekend. A flood watch is in effect in Northern California with up to 3 inches of rain expected today, and more snow is expected in the Northeast. ABC's chief meteorologist Ginger Z has more on what you can expect. Hi, Ginger.
San Francisco had their highest tide since 1998. A lot of that onshore flow coming in, combined with a very wet start to the year, talking nearly 2 inches above season-to-date rainfall, and you had flooding. This is Marin County, but near Fresno, just overnight, we got new pictures from Highway 168 where the rain had caused a rock slide. Accidents, obviously, they got that road cleared, but it took a while, so it was closed down. And unfortunately, there's more where that came from, especially north of the Bay Area. So, say, Fort Bragg over to Redding, north and west of Sacramento, places like Lakeport. San Francisco could still see that rain, and even Santa Cruz would pick up some. But wanted to show you there are coastal flood alerts still through this afternoon in the Bay Area. Seattle also has it. And then once you get into the elevation of the Sierra Nevada or the Cascades, it's going to be cold enough to make snow. So let's go ahead and time it out. This afternoon, it's noon Mountain Time. When you see that heavy band, it's like the northern parts of Napa or Sonoma counties, all the way up again to, say, Redding. And that's where that push of moisture is going to keep coming with the onshore flow. And again, I said Santa Cruz just because I don't want to leave out the southern Bay Area there, but I wanted to just update you on what's going to happen in the mountains, because it's not just today, but then as we go through Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, it's about those Cascades picking up big time snow. So 2 to 4 feet possible. 35-mile-per-hour winds also come along with that. So it's not going to be too pretty on some of the roads trying to get out and about, but I know a lot of the ski resorts will be very happy. The Northern Rockies picking up a bit more. Remember, a lot of places, Colorado, Wyoming, are desperate for more snow because it's been a pretty measly year so far. Duluth, this is just a look at, they're nearly 9 inches below average for snowfall. So they would want snow, but they're not going to be getting it, not certainly with the next storm coming through. That one's going to bring snow for Monday afternoon here in the Northeast, especially interior New England, into the mountains of Vermont, New Hampshire, and eventually Maine. But the Tuesday into Wednesday storm, this one is about ice. So there are winter weather advisories already posted. Green Bay over to, say, Gaylord, Michigan. I'd be watching for some of that freezing rain, and then it's going to get warm on top. that, like warm enough to melt some of that, but just keep an eye on those roads, especially Tuesday into Wednesday from southern Minnesota through central Wisconsin and the center there of the lower peninsula of Michigan. Again, this was the Monday snow and the totals. Diane?
All right, Ginger Z, thank you. Coming up, the possible weight loss breakthrough, what doctors are saying about a new pill that could change the game.
I've never seen that many skeletal remains. Thousands. It's a serial killer case.
This killer, he's the dumber you've never heard of.
More and more men are going missing, and then the lead broke the case open. They discovered the farm. The whole place was so bizarre. There were mannequins, almost like it was a club.
I felt the presence of evil.
The largest number of unidentified human remains, second only to the World Trade Center.
Not many people live now.
Let me ask you, am I the evil culprit, the accomplice?
I'd like to know how the audience views me.
The Box Hollow Murders, Playground of a Serial Killer. Only on Hulu.
America's #1 news, ABC News, now streaming 24/7 on Disney+.
Ready? What do you say, girls? I want actual solutions. That is just the truth. We're here, and we're not going anywhere.
America's most watched #1 daytime talk show is ABC's The View.
113, gonna need all hands.
911 Nashville, TV's #1 new show is back.
The city's been hacked.
With an emergency that will touch every corner of Nashville.
Every light in the city went green.
Returns Thursday on ABC.
My friends think I'm crazy. He's not someone who lets things go.
Why are you doing this?
Because I want to hurt you, and I don't know how else to do it.
I'm Robin Roberts in Southern California, covering those devastating wildfires. Wherever the story is, we take you there. You are streaming ABC News live.
Welcome back to ABC News Live. First, for the first time, a popular GLP-1 medication is available in a new form. Instead of injecting Wegovy, people can now just take a pill. ABC's Rhiannon Alley has more on how this could be a game changer for millions living with obesity.
The first GLP-1 oral medication hitting shelves nationwide, the Wegovy pill, made by pharmaceutical company Novo Nordisk, beginning to roll out today, the latest in the billion-dollar weight loss industry.
It's our opportunity to bring this new medicine to market in all channels all at once. Having it available through commercial insurance from day one and available in brick and mortar pharmacies like CVS and Costco, but then also partnering with telehealth companies.
The prescription pill is to be taken daily on an empty stomach with a 30-minute window before eating, drinking, or taking any other medicine.
This is a daily treatment, something you have to take every single day. I think that many people are going to want to use this rather than to use the injection.
And when it comes to price, some consumers could be looking at just a $25 copay per month. That's if their insurance covers obesity medications. There are options for those without insurance too.
We have a self-pay option that has the starting doses, the two lowest doses of the Wegovy pill, for $149 per month. And then the two higher doses are $199 a month.
Dr. Louis Aroni says patients who are in the lower weight ranges may be better suited for the drug.
What we'll be able to do now is to treat people earlier so that they can get the health benefit sooner. And so people who are overweight or just have lower levels of obesity, I think, will now be treated with these oral medicines.
Rhiannon Alley, thank you. Coming up, we have a lot more on Nicolas Maduro's capture and imminent court appearance. ABC's reporters are also in South America as other countries ask if they're now at risk of U.S. strikes. Also had the growing questions about the attack and next steps in Venezuela. Millions are hitting the internet trying to learn more. We're answering some of the most searched questions next.
All across America.
Good morning. Hello.
Wherever we are.
It's good to be home.
It feels like home.
When's the last time we dropped our things and went? Woke up somewhere that heroes never been. Growing up doesn't mean
Good morning. How are you?
At the start of the day, day, letting us into your home, putting the good in your morning.
Man, it's good to be home.
GMA. It's an invitation to come together. Brighten your morning.
Oh, George, how are you?
And the day ahead.
113, gonna need all hands.
911 Nashville is television's #1 new show.
Get out of there now.
Crazy rescues
We're coming to you. I got you.
and jaw-dropping moments.
Flames get bad and
Thursday,
The city's been hacked. Could be a catastrophic loss of lives.
an emergency that will touch every corner of Nashville.
every light in the city went green at the same time.
Returns Thursday on ABC and stream on Hulu.
When this view is over, there's a whole other view just getting started.
Hello.
From backstage secrets
No, that's not what I said.
That's what you said.
Oh, my God.
to the views you didn't get to hear.
I was blown away. We're playing with fire here.
Why are so many people listening to the Views Behind the Table podcast?
I can't imagine you can keep all that.
Because nothing's off limits behind the table. Subscribe and listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to ABC News Live. First, you're looking at the courthouse in New York City where former Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro is set to be arraigned today. Maduro and his wife are facing drug charges, accused of conspiring with violent cartels. Meanwhile, President Trump says the U.S. is, quote, in charge of Venezuela and will run the country until there's a proper transition. And now Trump seems to be warning other countries could be next, including Colombia and Greenland. Senior political correspondent Rachel Scott is at the White House with more.
Nicolas Maduro and his wife seen here in U.S. custody, being transported by law enforcement. As they prepare to appear in federal court, President Trump is adamant that the U.S. is now in charge of Venezuela.
Don't ask me who's in charge because I'll give you an answer and it'll be very controversial.
What does that mean?
It means we're in charge.
That statement contradicted hours earlier by his own Secretary of State, who suggested the U.S. won't govern Venezuela, but instead pressure the country with a military blockade on oil.
What we are running is the direction that this is going to move moving forward. And that is, we have leverage. This leverage we are using and we intend to use. We started using already.
The president has made clear he wants to see U.S. companies move to tap into Venezuela's vast oil reserves, demanding total access.
Total access. We need total access. We need access to the oil and to other things in their country that allow us to rebuild their country.
This all started late Friday, the president giving the green light, telling U.S. forces and intel agencies good luck and Godspeed. The president watching with his national security team from Mar-a-Lago as the mission unfolded. Helicopters flying under the cover of darkness, arriving in Caracas around 2 a.m. local time amid heavy gunfire. U.S. forces capturing Maduro and his wife, taking them to the USS Iwo Jima. President Trump posting this picture of Maduro on board. Maduro now on American soil. ABC News obtaining these images of the ousted leader as he landed in New York, handcuffed, dressed in a blue sweatshirt and sandals.
And Diane, the president did not rule out putting American troops on the ground in Venezuela, saying it depends on what happens with the Venezuelan government. Diane.
Rachel Scott, thank you. And Venezuela's interim president appears to be changing her tone in a new message to the U.S. and President Trump. Delcy Rodriguez first called the operation an atrocity that violates international law and demanded Maduro's return, vowing to defend Venezuela against American aggression. Now she says, quote, we invite the U.S. government to collaborate with us on an agenda of cooperation oriented toward shared development. She adds, President Donald Trump, our people and our region deserve peace and dialogue, not war. ABC's Matt Rivers is here with more. Matt, I know you've been talking to people in Caracas. How are they reacting to Maduro's capture and what Delcy Rodriguez is saying now?
Well, that statement sure sounds like she's trying to get along with the United States. It sure sounds like exactly what we've been hearing, talking to sources, that the inner circle of Maduro, which remains in power in Venezuela, is quite nervous about what the United States might do next. And so it's not entirely surprising, I don't think, that she's kind of extending that olive branch, because quite frankly, if you believe President Trump is emboldened, if you're listening to what he's saying, it doesn't seem like he's going to be afraid to do more things against the Venezuelan government. So hearing Delcy Rodriguez say that, she's known as a pragmatist, I can tell you that much, in terms of her approach to governance. She's a big reason why the Venezuelan economy has bounced back from the lows of 2018, 2019, 2020 over the last few years. She's seen very much as a survivor, politically speaking, and so I think a lot of people in Venezuela are not surprised that she's going to be willing to work with the United States moving forward. In terms of what we're hearing in Caracas today, we're in constant communication with people inside the country there, and what they're telling us is that, you know, life goes on, people are going to school, people are going to work, but it is an eerie calm, is how it was described to me by some contacts there this morning. People are freaked out. There's no question about it. They don't know what's going to happen next. They were stunned with the way the United States carried out that attack over the weekend, and so they're just kind of waiting to see what the future holds for that country, including who's going to govern it.
And Matt, now you're in Bogota, Colombia. After this operation in Venezuela, the president seemed to imply Colombia could be next, saying that the country is very sick and run by a sick man who is not going to be in charge for very long, and so on. So what are you hearing from people there, and what are you watching for next in terms of President Trump's comments on Colombia?
Well, President Petro of Colombia actually was just speaking to reporters there. He said, I am not illegitimate, I am not a drug trafficker, and he said the people of Colombia are ready to take up arms if necessary. He is known for bombastic comments like that, not unlike President Trump, somewhat ironically. But the big difference between Venezuela and Cuba, let's say, versus Colombia, is that President Petro was elected democratically. There were no fraudulent elections. It is not a dictatorship. Colombia is a firm democracy that has been an ally, perhaps the U.S.'s most enduring, strongest ally in terms of length of time in South America compared to any other country. So the idea that, you know, President Trump is threatening to unseat a democratically elected leader is stunning. I think to go in and actually do that would be maybe even a step too far for the Trump administration. It's one thing to do it with Maduro, it's another thing to do it with Colombia. But, you know, we've seen with this president, anything seems possible.
All right, Matt Rivers, thank you. And Maduro's capture has led to millions of online searches. Millions are looking for answers to everything from the legality of the operation to questions about Venezuela's oil reserves. ABC contributor and former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for the Middle East, Mick Mulroy, is here with answers to some of the most popular searches on the issues. Hi, Mick. So let's start with this question, getting an overwhelming number of searches. Is what President Trump did in Venezuela legal?
So, Diane, certainly a valid question. From the U.S. perspective, they focus on the fact it was a law enforcement operation, and Maduro had been indicted since 2020 as a drug trafficker, pointing at the previous U.S. operation that apprehended Manuel Noriega back in the 1990s in Panama as an example for why, and a precedent for why this is legal. But it's important to point out there was different facts back then. The U.S. had a treaty obligation to defend the canal, and the U.S. had U.S. military personnel who had already been under threat in Panama. So there was this imminent threat component to the Panama operation that would make this a bit different. But from the U.S. perspective, this is a law enforcement operation, and that's why they believe this is legal under U.S. and international law.
A lot of people are also asking what's happening in Venezuela right now and who is running the country.
So the vice president under the Constitution of Venezuela assumes the presidency, obviously in the absence of the president. And since Maduro is now in the United States about to start his trial process, she's the current leader. But they also requires an election to be held within a certain amount of time. So the question is going to be, is that election going to be free and fair? Is the United States going to vote and basically insist on it being free and fair? And if the opposition, the Maria Machado's party wins, are they going to be willing to put them in place? All questions that aren't answered now, but all certainly that have to be dealt with in the near term under their own constitution.
And the breakout search over the last 24 hours is actually looking back at the last administration. People want to know what the Biden administration did regarding Venezuela.
So mostly it was diplomatic and economic. The Biden administration imposed sanctions. They relieved those sanctions in the run-up to the elections, hoping that they would basically entice Maduro to have a free and fair election and to abide by the results. When that didn't happen, they then reimposed sanctions. They also, of course, really promoted the idea of the opposition party, promoting democracy, replacing the illegitimate government of Maduro. But essentially, that didn't happen. As we can see, there was a lot of criticism that they didn't go far enough from the Republican Party in promoting the opposition, which seems a bit of a change now, considering the idea of bringing back Machado and her opposition party doesn't seem to be as part of the playbook going ahead for the current administration.
All right, Mick Mulroy, thank you. And now, President Maduro and his wife are now in Manhattan ahead of today's court appearance. Earlier this morning, the two were transferred from a Brooklyn jail to the courthouse, where they're set to face federal drug trafficking charges. Let's bring ABC News legal contributor James Sample for more on their capture and arraignment. Hi, James. So critics say Maduro's extraction violates international law. The Trump administration says this was a legal law enforcement operation. How much does that language matter, calling it a law enforcement operation?
Diane, it is a question of whether the label is, in fact, the law. It's certainly, the operation certainly has a law enforcement component, but international law in certain contexts, at least when the particular international law at issue is the subject of a treaty, which the fundamental principles of the UN Charter are the part of a treaty that the United States has ratified, becomes U.S. law under what's known as the Supremacy Clause, Article 6 of the Constitution. And so under international law that the United States has signed on to as a treaty, there are three circumstances in which an individual can be captured as a subject via invasion of a foreign sovereign nation by another nation. And those circumstances are: one, when the nation that is being invaded consents. That clearly didn't happen here. Two, when there's an authorization by the UN Security Council for a variety of internationally accepted reasons. That obviously did not happen here. And then three, when there is a self-defense rationale. Now, the Trump administration's argument is that drugs, and therefore narco-terrorism, as they call it, create a self-defense rationale. However, the notion that just drug trafficking alone in a foreign country that might have downstream, and clearly does have some downstream effects in the United States, constitutes a basis for self-defense is an argument that the international community believes is false. Now, the Trump administration's position is that this is self-defense, that this is law enforcement, and the reality is, and this is important, this operation was clearly illegal under international law, was debatable as to the legality under domestic law, but the reality, the real politique, is the law of the jungle, which is to say the powerful versus the less powerful, and American courts are unlikely to be concerned about the matter in which he was captured.
And meanwhile, President Trump says the U.S. is in charge of Venezuela and will run the country until there's a proper transition. The Secretary of State kind of toned that down a little bit yesterday. But to what degree can we run Venezuela without violating international law?
Diane, there is no basis to run another country without violating international law. There's no basis to run another country without violating domestic law, because it will clearly require appropriations from Congress. And so Congress is going to need to, if in fact the United States wants to do this, even as a matter of domestic policy and law, the United States Congress, which has the power of the purse, would need to appropriate massive amounts of money to do so. As a matter of international law, this will be perceived, if the United States really truly does take over, as an occupation, and that is certainly not authorized. We have done it in other contexts, but the critical distinction about those other contexts is that those were pursuant to international coalitions and pursuant to authorizations in the United States known as AUMFs, authorizations for the use of military force. So you can think here about Germany after World War II, you could think about Iraq. Now, the United States doesn't have a successful track record of running other countries, even when it is authorized to do so. But for now, doing so is not legally authorized, though that may not actually be of practical import.
All right, ABC's legal contributor, James Sample, thank you. Coming up, we will have much more on Maduro's upcoming court appearance. But first, the local leader gaining national attention. Why San Francisco's mayor is one of the most popular local leaders in years, and what he's saying about his 30-minute conversation with President Trump.
What does it take to be the most watched newscast in America?
An operation to capture ISIS fighters. Is this our combat operation, sir? We're approaching the gate now. Militants came in from 4 or 5 different directions. Operational nuclear reactor. So we have a couple loaded and ready to go. The house is destroyed, but the flag, there's not a tear in it. Not a tear in it. How important is this label right here, Made in the USA? Look at your smile. You're proud of this.
I love it.
Great work.
Hi.
Where are you? Where are you? Appreciate you. David, good to meet you. Ismail? David.
David.
Yes, yes. I'm David Muir.
I know who you are.
You
Watch
do?
you every night.
ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast. With so much at stake, so much on the line, more Americans turn here than any other newscast. ABC News World News Tonight with David Muir, America's #1 most watched newscast across all of television.
You ready? What do you say, girls? I want actual solutions. That is just the truth. We're here and we're not going anywhere.
America's most watched #1 daytime talk show is ABC's The View.
You called her? I did. I work with Morgan on every case.
You want a flout procedure at every turn?
I've never flouted anything.
You sure about that?
Yes, I am. Mid-air homicide? I will work this case for free. I don't mean that. That's just something people say.
Welcome back to ABC News Live. First, San Francisco's moderate Democratic mayor is one of the most popular local leaders in years. Mayor Daniel Lurie says the city had lost its way. Now he's opening up about how he's trying to change that. ABC's This Week co-anchor and Chief Washington correspondent John Carl has more.
At the heart of one of America's most liberal cities, a tough-on-crime, pro-business, moderate Democrat has become one of the most popular local leaders in a long time.
Best mayor ever.
Thank you.
Elected to clean up his city, San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie's constant presence on social media has turned the 48-year-old political newcomer and heir to the Levi Strauss fortune into an unlikely local celebrity.
And I'm watching all your videos on TikTok and Instagram.
As we walked around San Francisco's North Beach neighborhood, it seemed as if everybody wanted to talk to him.
See you.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Buongiorno. Thank you very much.
How's business?
This is great. Can't complain. You know, with the new administration, you guys, SF has really gone up.
You've now been in office about a year. I want to get to what you've done, and it does seem like there is something of a renaissance going on in San Francisco. But before we get to that, what went wrong in the city? I mean, San Francisco had become the symbol of, in some ways, progressive or liberal failure. What happened here?
We lost our way as a city. We all know that. We had, career politicians that were focused on what was next for them instead of what was best for San Franciscans. And what I've tried to do is focus on getting results for the people of San Francisco.
And what specifically was it? Was it a approach of not enforcing the laws?
I think we got away from the basics of government. Now, today, if you come to San Francisco to commit a crime, we're going to catch you and we're going to prosecute you. If you come to San Francisco to deal drugs or to do drugs, we're going to prosecute you, and we're not going to tolerate it for as long as I'm mayor. And I think we sort of had a laissez-faire attitude. We said, okay, it's somebody's right to do drugs. Our progressive values sort of overtook common sense. We had 812 people die of overdose a few years ago in our city.
In a single year?
in a single year. There's nothing progressive about that. There's nothing progressive about car break-ins. You know, you could drive by blocks and blocks and see car windows smashed. This past year, we're at a 22-year low when it comes to car break-ins. We have fundamentally shifted what's happening and how people feel.
I mean, one of the things that you see in San Francisco is kind of wide open, basically drug markets. I mean, people selling, doing drugs just out in the street. You know, no enforcement whatsoever. You still see some of that in this city, but what are you doing to...
We still have our challenges. There's no question. I'm not going to sit here and say you can't go down a few of our streets and see some of the things you saw in the last few years, but we've made great strides. Crime in San Francisco, John, is down 30% citywide. It's actually down 40% in our downtown.
You've taken some heat for being pro-business, too, and also having, you know, some of the wealthiest companies out here help fund the renaissance that you'd like to see in San Francisco.
Yeah. Listen, I can take that heat. I think what we're doing is working in San Francisco. And yes, I am pro-small business. I am pro-bringing conventions back to San Francisco. I'm pro-big business being here in San Francisco. And my demand of the business community is get involved in our city, get involved in our public schools and in our arts and culture.
What do you make of the new mayor in New York?
Well, I called the mayor the day after he won. We had a very nice conversation. I think New York City is I love it. You know, it's no San Francisco, let's be clear. But I wish him nothing but the best. I want New York to succeed. You know, a lot of people want to try to compare us.
Well, you're both these young mayors. I mean, he's a little younger than you.
He's a lot younger.
But coming in with talking about real change.
Yeah, I think we both ran against a broken system.
But you have very different approaches. Some would say a different path for the Democratic Party. Is it Mamdani or is it Daniel Lurie?
Yeah, this is what I don't understand about politics. I'm over here in, you know, the greatest city in the world, just focus on getting results for the people of San Francisco.
What about homelessness?
Well, we did just pass family zoning, which is going to help us create more affordable housing and more housing at all income levels. But when you talk about homelessness, and when I think about it, it's intertwined with the drug crisis, with fentanyl. We were caught flat-footed as a city in how we respond to it. We kept putting people with addiction into shelter, into housing with no support. We've changed our approach on that here in San Francisco this past year. We're no longer just handing out drug supplies and letting people kill themselves on the street.
Why was that going on?
I think we got to this place where we thought it was somebody's right to continue to use on the street openly in front of our kids. Like, I walk my kids to school and I saw them walking across the street one day. I was walking them and someone was crossing the street high, no clothes on. It was 8 a.m. And I couldn't explain to my kids what was happening on the street.
Now, not long ago, Donald Trump threatened to send the National Guard here to San Francisco. He said crime was out of control and he's going to send in the Guard. You talked to him. You seem to have talked him out of it.
He gave me a call. I was sitting in my car in North Beach.
So he called you?
He did.
Did you know it was him? Was it arranged ahead of time? This call just...
I was told by somebody 5 minutes before that I would be getting a call from the president. Yeah. I received a call, and his first question was, "How's it going?" And I told him what I'm telling you, and I'm telling the world, that is, San Francisco's on the rise. Our numbers are going in the right direction in terms of our economy. Crime is down. I think I think people had an outdated notion of what was happening in San Francisco, and so he asked me some questions. I really appreciated him listening, and I think we're proven that it was the right decision.
Was he listening? I mean, was it a back and forth? Or?
It was. It was an almost 30-minute conversation. He asked me if I was a Democrat, and I said, "Sir, I was born and raised in San Francisco. Yes, I'm a Democrat." So I appreciated the conversation with him. I will work with anybody that wants to help San Francisco, and of course, when the president calls, you talk, and it was a conversation.
John Carl, thank you. Coming up, we will be live as former Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro faces a judge here in New York City, what to expect from his hearing, and more on his capture right here on ABC News Live first.
This view is over. There's a whole other view just getting started.
Hello. Hello.
From backstage secrets
No, that's not what I said. That's what you said. Oh my God.
to the views you didn't get to hear.
I was blown away. We're playing with fire here.
Why are so many people listening to the Views Behind the Table podcast?
I can't imagine you can keep all that.
Because nothing's off limits behind the table. Subscribe and listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
America's #1 news, ABC News, now streaming 24/7 on Disney+.
Hey, Tom, help, my fiance's on the floor with blood everywhere. Please hurry. There's a knife sticking out of her heart. Oh, no.
If you want to get away with a homicide, have it declared a suicide.
Death in Apartment 603. Only on Hulu.
ABC's David Muir, the most watched newscast in America. More Americans watch World News Tonight with David Muir than any other newscast.
Welcome back to ABC News Live First. It's the first full work week of the new year, and for many, that will pose a big challenge to their New Year's fitness resolutions. Returning to work and school and busy everyday life can make it tough to stick to the goals we set for ourselves. Now, comedian Michelle Buteau is opening up to our Ginger Z about how she's getting a strong start to the new year.
This segment is sponsored by Premier Protein, and we spoke to comedian and spokesperson Michelle Buteau about how she's starting her year off right.
She's one of comedy's leading ladies.
When people are like, what's motherhood like? I'm just like, I feel like a shoe caught in a dryer. You know, I'm just like...
Creating and starring in the hit Netflix show, Survival of the Thickest.
Hi, I'm Mavis Beaumont, and I have a passion for fashion.
The irresistibly funny Michelle Buteau.
Well, laughter is the best medicine that you don't need a copay for because it's healing. It has healing power.
And now Michelle is returning to the small screen as Mavis for her show's third and final season.
Season 3 feels like a love letter to myself and to how I started my little family. It's really just fun to figure out how to tell those stories and also make people laugh.
As she juggles her busy career and mom life with her 2 children, Michelle says this new year, she's resolving to give herself one thing.
My New Year's resolution is going to be to give myself grace. It's an honor and a privilege to have responsibility and take care of people, but I also have to take care of myself.
Michelle teaming up with our sponsor, Premier Protein, as a spokesperson to help others kick off the new year right.
By the time New Year's comes, we're holidays and confused. And so what Premier Protein is doing is giving you grace to actually celebrate when the new year will start for you, which is, the first Monday of the year. It's January 5th.
The comedian even starring in this fun campaign, a spoof on the iconic ball drop that comes with a special promotion.
Instead of a ball drop, we're going to be dropping protein shakes. So on January 5th, get yourself a free protein shake. We're going to be doing it in 6 select cities. And the protein drop will be happening all week long from January 5th to 9th. I really love the mission statement, go get them, because that's pretty much what I tell myself when I wake up in the morning. I feel like we have a to-do list of things that seem like they're never ending, but with this drop, you're at the top of the list.
Big thanks, and for more info on the protein drop, you can head to GMA's social pages. Again, big thanks to Ginger Z. And thanks to you for watching. I'm Diane Macedo. The news never stops, and neither do we. We have a lot more news right after the break. Stay with us.
Whenever, wherever news breaks, it's so important to always remember that lives are changed. Here in London, in Buffalo, Uvalde, Texas,
Edinburgh, Scotland, from Poland once again tonight. Thank you so much for streaming with us. Ukrainian refugees in Warsaw. Do you think you'll ever be able to go back home?
We're heading to a small community outside of Mexico.